business or an idea, if you want to share, please go around and share. I think Dr. Erickson said if you're in our class, you don't have a choice.
Liz too.
And Liz. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started on that.
Yeah, I thought it'd be great just to have some context here about the businesses that you might be coming up with. And,
So I'll start. So I'm RT Custer. I am the co-founder and CEO of Vortac Watches, which is a technology company, and we invented a watch that if you turn the bezel, it tightens the band around your wrist like a ratchet.
That's cool.
So we're currently working on that in the prototyping stages right now. Should I say everything I just said again? Okay.
Practice makes perfect.
So I'm RT Custer. I'm co-founder and CEO of Vortac Watches. We invented a watch band that if you turn the bezel on the face of the watch, it tightens the band around your wrist. Patent pending technology. Currently working on that with the Learning Factory here at Penn State to prototype that idea and get it started. Here with my business partner Frank and my other business partner Mac, who's always late. He'll be here in about 5 minutes.
That's great.
Hi, my name is Josh Kessler, and I'm representing a team called Apparatus X, which is a mobile disaster relief center that can relocate to the site of a natural disaster anywhere across the country and provide both immediate and long-term aid to communities that were damaged by natural disasters. And I'm working with a team of about 20 students across 3 colleges, engineering, architecture, and agricultural sciences. And so our goal is to create a sustainable solution to disaster relief.
Great. Wow.
And they just got featured in Wire.
Oh, I heard him. Very good. Congratulations.
Well, I'm not in your class, but my name's Alex. I'm an energy engineer major. But I'm working on a clothing brand that's organic clothing, and it comes with fabric from West Africa and Brazil. And parts of proceeds that I make will go to communities in Brazil that are developing.
That's great.
Hi, my name is Mridal. I am the founder of Chromos, which is a modular furniture company. It's basically Legos for furniture. You have 2 pieces, and you can make anything from a chair, a table, a bed frame, the bookshelf, onwards.
That's great.
I'm John Gumble, co-founder of Green Towers LLC. We're an urban agricultural design company, focusing particularly in this class on a consumer product, which is a brand of living furniture. It allows you to grow fish and basically organic greens right within the comforts of your own home.
Oh, that's great.
You don't have a business up. She's working on it.
Next.
Hi, Jim and I are Room Life, and we're working on making an app or website that helps to solve the problem of when shopping for interior design items, you can't directly click on items that you want to purchase and have to do difficult Google searches to try and find those things.
I'm Matt Redding. I'm with H2O Pal. I don't think my partner's here. His name's Matej. He's from Slovenia. What we are, we're a tracking device. It goes on the base of your water bottle. And it syncs up through Bluetooth to an app on your iPhone, and it tells you when to drink throughout the day based on your height, your weight, how physically active you are.
Yeah. Clever.
My name is Mike Parietti, and I'm actually a non-degree graduate student, but I have a little gadget I invented that helps you put a dimple in your necktie. And I've got it online. I'm just trying to figure out better ways to
I could use that.
Hi, my name's Ryan. I'm co-founder of Yasha Tree Games, and it's a mobile game design company, and we have one game called Available Light. It's available on iOS and Android.
Hi, I'm Spencer Balkin. I'm a co-founder of eGenShare, and we're creating an online social network and a healthcare facility volunteer program for ethical wills, which are a list of questions which will capture life lessons, values, beliefs, regrets, or really anything you'd like to pass on to your loved ones.
My name is Dustin. I'm a co-founder of Green Towers, and we're an urban agricultural design company, and we're working on a product called Living Furniture. That is a furniture piece that will allow you to grow a fresh herb garden relatively effortlessly within your home.
Hi, my name is Martin Marino, and I designed a product that gives easier access to water for students and hikers and backpackers.
My name's Kevin. I'm working on the content-based or location-based content delivery using iBeacons. It's pretty new. So.
All right.
My name is David Kapach. I'm co-founder of a company called Novipod, and we do closed-loop logistics and shipment and asset tracking in companies.
My name is Carl Rhodes. I'm the founder of CWR Electric. It's a speed bump company, and the speed bump generates electricity when cars go over it, and it's for like parking garages and high traffic areas, and it will reduce electricity costs.
Hi, my name's Ian Schwartz. I'm trying to work on a location-based search engine, but right now I'm focusing on places to eat in Brooklyn. That's it.
Yeah. Great. Nope. All right. That's a great idea. It's amazing how differentiated they are across the room. But it's amazing that some of you even have working products and prototypes out already. So like Adam said, I'm Matt Miller from. I live in Southern California. I just sold my company back in December for $105 million, and I'll share some. I don't even know. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's a good way to end the year. But it's interesting. I made every mistake along the way. So I'm going to share today some of the things that I've learned, some of the mistakes I've learned, and hopefully you can learn from some of those and not make the same ones. But have faith. Just don't get frustrated if you're going through and you get challenges with your business. Some of the things I want to talk about. I mean, especially in the early stages of starting your company, you're going to have to find the right partner that you're going to work with. It's difficult to do it all by yourself, so you need to find either your first hire, your first business partner, which is essentially very important because you're going to be married to that person for quite a long time probably. And then raising capital, which is an extremely extremely important topic because how you manage your money and how quickly you go through it can impact your business significantly throughout the way. So if you don't plan ahead well enough or get the right amount of money, your business might be shut down sooner than later. And also just share some common pitfalls that I encountered, and then I see a lot of other people that are trying to start companies that have had trouble along the way and then ended up not being that successful. And then at the end, I'd like to show you a quick demo of this software that I built that was the really unique differentiator in my business. It was demoed to the New York Stock Exchange last Wednesday, and was accepted pretty well, so let's see that. I think it turned out very nicely. So starting with finding the right business partners. Typically, if it's good to find someone that complements you. So if you're great in sales and marketing, find someone that's great in technology or product and operations. If you think you can do it all yourself, you're going to find your time in the day is limited, and you will have a difficulty eventually doing everything on your own. And then also finding someone with accounting and financial experience. That might be someone who's an advisor. It doesn't have to be someone full-time, but early on you want to make sure someone's managing your money and making a good plan for how you're going to work. It also could be someone with you want to bring on specific expertise or business connections that could help you launch your business idea into the next phase of it, so actually getting out to the market. And it's good to remember that you're going to be spending a lot of time with this person, so you don't want to get married right away. Spend some time getting to know them, maybe bring them on as an advisor for a little while. Because if you don't get along or you don't work well together or they don't fit your culture that you have envisioned for your company, then it can make things very stressful. And it's also important, as you start bringing on people, if you're starting the company yourself, is to have a good operational agreement set up. So that makes it easier if things don't go well in the future, how you can get out of that situation with that person or partners that you're working with. And like I mentioned, that's important also for any new hires you do. The people you hire early on are going to be the most important impact in your business. They're either going to make it a success or ultimately not a success. So it could be, you have to envision how you want your culture. You don't let it be just an accident. So what I mean by culture is how are people, do you want it to be a fun culture? Do you want it to be serious? Do you want it to be, everyone has an input into what you're developing and designing, or do you want it to all come from you? And usually the best ideas come from everyone. You can't just run in a hole and make it, think you have the best ideas as well. So having everyone contribute their ideas is usually the best, I think, and having a good, fun environment usually is what worked for us. And that's what we do at CyberCoders. Everyone can submit ideas, information, and then we can build ideas around that. So we build everything in-house. All of our software is custom developed. And that's really was a big differentiator when we went to sell the company, which you'll see in a little while. And next about, running, or when you're looking to raise capital, I don't know if you talked a little bit about that in the past, but.
We have some people that have got Indiegogo and Kickstarter campaigns.
Okay. That's good. So there's usually a few ways you can, go. The crowdsource funding way is obviously something that's pretty new, and a lot of people have been very successful with that. So it's a very interesting idea how people do that. Then there's bootstrapping. So either raising with your own money, or starting the company with your own money, or borrowing from family or something like that. That's usually that's what gives you the most control, because you don't have outside people giving it money if it's yours. But with bootstrapping, one thing is important to note that if you go out and you say you work for PwC or Deloitte, which is fine for a few years out of school, live as frugally as you can. So then you're saving that money. So when you start your business, you have as much money in the bank as possible. So for example, you might work nights and weekends on your idea and your business plan, and in a few years, you're going to come out with your idea. And then that money can go longer the more you have saved up. Venture capital is another way, which you've probably heard of. A lot of the Silicon Valley guys will tell you about that. For me, I think I like going the bootstrapped way, but the VCs will take a big chunk of ownership in your company, and it gets difficult when you try to go sell your company. They're going to want a lot of money back, and they're going to take a lot of control of your company. But sometimes it's essential. Giving up some percent of 0% of something is nothing. So you want to make sure you give your company the best possible idea. So in the beginning of CyberCoders, we bootstrapped it. We spent about $250,000 to get it going. And that got us to about $3 million in revenue. And then we bought in private equity, which is sort of like whenever private equity firms see companies doing well and they can see that it'll scale, they'll invest money. So they're kind of like venture capitalists, but not early startup stage venture. So that's what, in 2007, we took on private equity and then eventually sold it 7 years later, just last year. So it's a good thing to go once you're ready to scale your company, is there's other options to bring in additional capital to take your idea to the next step. And that's when the point when I really became a partner of the company in 2007, and my business partner and I, we have a great relationship where she is great in sales and marketing, I'm good in technology, operations, product development, but we kind of understand what each other do very well. So we have that mutual respect with each other, and that helps. We have a very open relationship, so we can talk about anything, and it's not criticized, and we have a good working understanding of each other. And a few pitfalls along the way that you may come into. A lot of issues I see with companies that are trying to start up is there's no focus. So they may think, oh, I want to do this as my thing. And then as they start building it out, they say, oh, I wanted to do this, this, and this. So then you eventually have this amalgamation of all these ideas. People come to your site, and they have no idea what you do. And that's how you position your product. You want to make sure it's clear exactly if someone's coming, especially a first-time person or buyer or user. You need to know exactly what, they need to know exactly what you're doing. If they don't, the chances of them staying and using your product are very low. And along with that is your market strategy. I'm not sure if you talked about that at all, but when you go to market, you need to have a plan. I mean, just having an app and throwing it up in the App Store and expecting everyone to download it, that's not a good marketing strategy. You need to know how you're going to find out who your audience is, who's going to buy your product, who's going to use your product. You can do that. There's a lot of different ways you can do that now. You can even interview people at Starbucks. You can do testing on different websites. Even Google has ways you can market or give surveys up to users on random websites and get feedback. So you know what audience target range, demographics, locations, age groups, whatever you need. It's a good way to find out exactly where you're going to go and what you're going to target your product after. Because that in turn will affect the amount of money you're going to need to spend to get to those people. And that goes into your business plan, your business model, and how you're initially going to generate revenue on those people. And a long-term roadmap, that's once you obviously get the product out on the shelf or online, whichever your product may be, you're going to want to find out what's the next step after that. So after you get it, so maybe we're starting to use your product, what's version 2, what's version 3, how are you going to iterate, how are you going to keep improving on it? So just make sure that those are very important things to do. And a lot of times the first idea that you have when you come out is not going to be the successful idea you have may not be the initial idea you had. So for example, you just need to be ready to, I guess, pivot your ideas. So if you find out that people aren't engaging with your product, be ready to change it. How is it going to affect? How's it going to be effective mostly to other people? How are they going to consume that? And ultimately, and honestly, when I started developing the software for CyberCoders, it was not what I thought it would end up being. I was working on software that would help the recruiters do their jobs, be more efficient, be more effective, and it ended up being really the core part of the business that differentiated the entire company. And it kind of disrupted the recruiting industry in a way that I didn't really expect it would. So you have an idea, and it's just to help the company itself, and now it's maybe turned into something big that's going to be used across a $2 billion organization. So I'm pretty excited about that. You have any questions so far? Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the bootstrapping and the funding thing, you said that you guys bootstrap at like basically $4 million. That's like actually so like how do you like differentiate like how much money is bootstrapping?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. It depends a lot on what you're building. So in sorry. It was
So question about difference between amount of money that would count as bootstrapping and the amount that would push the threshold into venture territory.
Yeah, it depends if you're what business you're building. So if you're actually building a physical product, the amount of money you need to manufacture that is probably going to increase the amount you need to fund the company. So our company is based on, it's all human capital, so the company may hire us for a resume and they'll pay us $25,000 if they hire the person. So the cost of running the company is very low. There's a very low overhead and to keep it going. But like I said, you have to figure out kind of what your price point is to manufacture that product if it's a physical product. The cost is to market it and get out to the market, and go from there.
Yeah. I think you can also, you can bootstrap as much as you want. It's just the source of it.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not getting it from an investor who's taking equity. So like in my business, it was totally bootstrapped from day one. I wasn't going to take any money from anybody else, but that didn't mean at the time. Yeah. So I think it really is more like who you get it from, right?
Right.
And that does dictate certain levels, right?
Right.
If you get VC funding, they're going to give you more, but they're going to expect a whole lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always once the company gets bigger, it's who has a seat at the table making board level decisions. So if you're borrowing from family or yourself or a friend, then that's one thing they probably won't demand that of you. But if it's a VC, they certainly will, and they'll probably want a big part of it. Yeah.
So how much of the company did you have to give away during the private equity? How much did they take?
So they ended up buying out one of our partners. So they ended up with about a 51% ownership. So that was a big chunk. But they were good where they let my other business partner and I, all four of us were on the board, the two of us who were the C-levels at the company, and then two from the private equity firm. But there's a lot of different firms out there. They were actually a really good group, and they empowered us to make the decisions we needed to, so they never kind of challenged the decisions we wanted to make and let the company run. But yeah.
How did you select that? How did you select that firm that didn't screw you over? Find one that.
Yeah, it's half of it's doing your research, then half is it almost through connections and networks. So they're based in Southern California as well. We happen to know a few other companies that had worked with them, and they all had amazing things to say that they let them run their companies and they had incredible success. So that's ultimately you end up interviewing a few people, and they'll all say that they let you do that. They'll let you run your company, and some won't be like that. But yeah, I guess we just got fortunate. And it's good to do your research, though, not just to. Especially too if you're starting your own company, and a VC offers you some cash. You don't have to take it right away. Do your research, and you can shop around. I think that's a good, really. In general, that's important along the way, even if you're going to sell your company. Eventually, hopefully down the road, you want to do your research and make sure it's a good buyer. Yeah.
So, at the very beginning of CyberCoders, were you laying out a market strategy even when you were like 6 months old, a year old? And what was that strategy when you had very little research?
Yeah. So the company was founded in '99. I joined in 2003. So their initial goal was, or just their business plan was to connect great people to great companies. But it was a really manual process. So typically in a recruiting firm, just to give you a quick background, you have a recruiter that's looking for the companies looking to hire, then you have another recruiter that's looking for the candidates looking for a job, and then the recruiter tries to match them together. So they were doing that pretty much a manual process. And then in 2003, and they grew organically. When I was there was about 10 people. So after 3 years, it was about 10 employees, $3 million in revenue. But what I saw was the ability to automate a lot of the recruiting process. So one person could do the job of 2 people and do it 3 times as efficiently. So I kind of pitched that to the CEO at the time, and then it turned out to be, they just kind of let me run with it, and it turned out to be a good, a good solution. But yeah, it's funny how the company had changed quite a bit after that, but it wasn't the initial plan.
So your initial market was just these recruiters. What did it change after that?
Well, the original target of people and companies looking to hire was software engineers. That's where the name CyberCoders came from. Just pretty dated now, but we're stuck with it. You know, so and then actually, so that was in '99. 2 years later, the economy crashed. The internet bubble burst. No one was hiring software engineers. So we actually switched to hiring mortgage brokers, mortgage officers, and finance and accounting people. So pretty much they tried to shift the recruiter's focus to whatever was in demand. So then when I came on, I learned that there's software that could probably do that. With keywords and matching, we could automate a lot of that, and it could determine what's on the internet to figure out what's in demand and what's not in demand. So we could adjust the company as needed. So if that answers your question.
So I would like to hear more about picking a partner and finding a technology. You're the technology guy, so you came in with the technology chops. A lot of people here are like, I need somebody that really has the technology. And how do I find them? And I don't know anything about technology, so how do I know whether they're doing their job?
Right.
So some feedback on that would be good.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's good to know what they've done in the past, what kind of work they've been doing, and what companies they've worked for, what was their role there. Are they interested? I mean, a lot of technologists don't want to be on the business side of things. It's kind of a program. I enjoy the business side of things, so I was kind of the ugly duckling. But it isn't. I mean, especially now at Penn State, so you have this nice mixture of talent and people all focus in one area. But when you get out, I mean, depending where you go, there's a lot of different, especially in the Bay Area in Southern California, a lot of tech startup mixer kind of things, where you can go and actually meet other people that are doing, other software engineers that are interested in doing a startup and looking for a business partner, or vice versa. So they've been pretty effective on the ones I've gone to and met people. Other ways would be, there's tech boards online you can check out, like Stack Overflow, GitHub, kind of see what people are doing. They're kind of tech focused though, so if you're don't have much of a tech background, that might be a little challenging. Or if you have just engineer friends, you could ask them for references and things like that. Yeah. And you can always email me if you have any recommendations.
Yeah.
No.
On the other side, how would you find like the business or marketing people at the same kinds of events? Or
Yeah. Mostly, I've done it mostly through, I think, networking and connections. Trying to look for higher level people. LinkedIn is pretty effective as well, I found out. Especially the network's so big now that you can easily search and find a lot of people. And usually on there, if you target the messages correctly and you mention something personal about them, like from their LinkedIn profile, they're likely to respond. Yeah.
Okay, let's say you have an idea for, but it requires some code. And you have a very clear idea of what you want, but you can't do it yourself. And you're not in a position to really hire a full-time employee. I mean, is there a safe way to connect with someone who will write it for you and give you allow you to get the patent coverage or the rights? Or, I mean, is there a way to do that safely without compromising?
You can, so there's ways you can get, contract. There's like Odesk and a couple other temporary, where you can find temporary, software engineering talent. And if your business is set up correctly, you can have them sign the contract, NDA, everything they build for you, you own and protect. So they wouldn't have a right to anything they build for you. But those are, Odesk and that's a big one. Stack Overflow is good too to find some talent. Stack Overflow is a group of software engineers. It's kind of a software engineering, social networking kind of site. But then there's the overseas component where you could have them building. But usually I prefer the ones in the U.S. just to have a more close eye on things. But yeah.
So just make sure you get an artist.
Yeah, yeah. You want to make sure you're set up, legally with your business and all that. Not legally, but make sure you have the right protections in place for your operating agreement, NDAs, any other contracts that are set up.
There's like a small trend going around that you can like contract a smarter guy to manage an overseas team to do like most of the work. So you can like pay a smarter dude $50 an hour, 1 hour a week to just check over all the code that the overseas team does. So like you get sort of more bang for your buck, but the other guy also doesn't have to be responsible for writing the whole thing.
So you save money on the overseas part, which it's worth it by paying that.
Yeah, you get the experience as well as the work. So that's another solution
Yeah.
that people get pretty good success out of.
Yeah, I found it depends how large of a software project you're trying to work on, because if it's pretty large, I found the overseas kind of hack out, and from a scalability standpoint, you may have issues down the road. But if it's a small software project, then yeah, that's a great way to go. Well, it depends how big this. If it's going to be a big software application, then scalability may be an issue by having the full team.
For a large project, you go overseas.
No, I would probably stay local, and then smaller projects go overseas. Question? No.
So you mentioned building in like certain points where different products will start, like you have to plan different scaling things that you have.
Mhm.
What's sort of the like the key markers that you guys had with CyberCoders that like this is something that we found that we should probably put more effort towards? Like what were some of your like different markers that you had?
Yeah, I think this is a few things there. I guess from so our big thing was in the early days was advertising. How do we get our name out? And so we made this point that for every dollar we spend, we expect to make $10 off that advertising. So if we spend $10 advertising on Career Builder, we expect to make for $1,000, we want to make $100,000. So if we found out a source wasn't producing those numbers, then we would get rid of it and try another source. So we kept trying that until we found a good advertising model of all these different sources where we could get out online and try to get our name out. I guess from a hiring perspective, like because bringing on a full-time person is obviously an expensive thing to do as you're starting out. But I mean, if you find that you're working 80, 90 hours a week, it's probably time to bring someone on to help you out. Because and I think it's always important to overpay those people, especially early on. You can pay them with equity and ownership of the company and salary, but once you get to the point where you can start hiring people with a salary, I always say that if it costs you $20,000 a year more, go with the better person because they're going to make a huge difference in the company. Yeah.
So let's talk about focus.
Yep.
Right? So moth and the light bulb factory syndrome, right? This is a great idea, this is a great idea. So some of the things that you did to focus, validate your market, and deal with I actually think I've got a lot of people there that will pay stuff, but I'm not going to deal with them right now. Like, feeling like you're losing the opportunity because you're narrowing to.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think, there's a few different ways. I think, tried one of our companies that we started up a few other companies. One didn't go so well because there were way too many ideas. People came to the site and would bounce right off it because there's so many different things you could do. They wouldn't know what they should be doing. But as far as focusing too narrowly, I guess for us, we tried different markets. So we tried software engineers, accounting, and the one we realized that was really not working for us was healthcare, and physicians, nurses, and things like that. So we put a big effort into going for that, and we were ranking the traction. So we were spending way too much money than we were losing. So at a certain point, I think we realized which markets that if we kept going, software, we just blew it out, it would just keep getting better and better. At that point, we wouldn't keep narrowing it down until we saw that it just wasn't making enough money. Then we would start shrinking our focus of that area. Yeah. Yeah.
What inspired the idea you guys had initially?
To start the company itself, or
yeah, and like the idea.
One of the principal owners was he he had an accounting background, and he had used recruiters in the past, and he was shocked at how much it cost. Basically, just to find a for a resume. So it's usually 20% of their annual salary. So if the person makes $100,000 a year, you have to pay the recruiting firm $20,000. He's like, wow, that's really great. You don't have to build anything. It's pretty quick. It's like a 6-week turnaround. The overhead cost is nothing. You pay for computers and desks, and that's about it. And really in the recruiting industry, it's the faster you can find the company willing to hire and the best person for that job, you're going to get that deal closed. So that's where the software part of it came in. But that was the original idea. He was like, this looks like a really great way to make money. Yeah. Yep.
So when you were at Penn State, did you think you were going to be an entrepreneur someday? It sounds like you hired right into like NSA.
I did.
That's not
Not very entrepreneurial.
That is not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So when you were an undergrad, were you thinking someday I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I worked for a startup when I was in school, and I really enjoyed doing that. And so I graduated the fall of 2011, like it was right after the December 11th attacks. So everyone stopped hiring. So my aspirations of going to work for a startup in the Bay Area kind of got put on hold. So the only companies really hiring at that point were defense firms and defense agencies. So I went to the NSA for a while and it was okay, but really interesting work, but not quite my cup of tea. Then I went to Lockheed Martin for a little while, and that was just kind of another version of the same thing. And in the DC area, I was looking for startups, but they're just, you're either working for the government or contracting for the government at that point. So after about 3 years, I decided to go head west and worked for a startup.
So did you get hired into a startup, or did you just go out there and say, I'm going to find something?
I got hired into one, yeah. So as I was looking, we kind of got connected, and I said I was looking to go out there. And they're smaller too, so they didn't have a lot of money, so I was 24 at the time, so cheaper. But it worked out well for everyone.
So you said you graduated in 2011?
2001.
Yep. Because I was like, just the timeline. Did you ever find you had trouble balancing working like a full job and also trying to do the startup route, or no? Or is it you just focused on one or the other at the time?
Yeah, I just focused on. So I made the decision to leave Lockheed. I just left and then went to the startup out in California. But I think it's good to keep in mind. You probably have an idea, but working at a startup isn't like a 9-to-5 job. It's 24/7, 7 days a week. You got to be committed to growing it, building it. Whatever if your area specialty is, you have to be willing to do everything else too. So, it is challenging if you plan on getting married and having kids. I suggest if you do start up a company, do that before you have all these other commitments in your life. Mortgages, kids. It makes a big difference. That's not. It's good to know.
Going back to focus. So when you started with your idea or whatever company, service, anything, when did you actually realize that you go from an idea to actually a corporate environment or something like that? Like, at what point is that for you?
Could you repeat that though? When you?
So you have an idea.
Yeah.
And you have your actual corporation, everything, some industry, and you have it there. When did you actually realize that?
Oh, when our company was.
When you felt everything was coming to fruition.
Oh, it's interesting. You just put in so much work every day that things kind of, you look back and you're like, wow, we're here. No, it was, I don't know, I think it was probably when we got to like 80 to 100 employees. Then we're like, because we had the software built and the company was scalable. And then we realized, we have something that is repeatable and scalable, and now it's just hiring people and just hooking them into the system. And our plan is, right now we're at 250 recruiters, or our plan is to get to 1,000 within the next 3 years. So, and we're part of the bigger companies, a $2 billion publicly traded company, so there's about 3,000 people there as well. So, with the goal of being the biggest staffing firm in the country in 5 years.
You're talking about how it's like 24/7 job and it's high risk, probably high stress.
Yeah.
So do you think it's actually worth it? I mean, everyone here is thinking about doing that, so.
Absolutely. It's just very stressful. If you have to enjoy it and be passionate about it, otherwise, then you'll be very frustrated. But you know, it's not all sunshine and roses. But you know, you get through it, and you know, there's something satisfying that you put all this time into. You know, even every day, like if you're working on a project or something, once you get that out there and get to see people using it, it's, you know, very satisfying. And then in our industry, we're getting people jobs, so it actually is good. Makes you feel good too that you're helping them get a better job. But yeah, it's good to have a good routine. I would say, just, you know, if you're in a startup, just taking care of yourself and not just, you can't go, you know, you have to make sure you're balanced, so you're not just going to burn yourself out either. So it's important. Have a good group of support network too, good friends and all that. No.
So you're working on Career Bliss now? That's your current adventure? So what's what's your current big challenge in Career Bliss? Like, what keeps you awake at night that you wish you could figure out how to do?
It's so Career Bliss is a much different revenue model, business model. So it is all online advertising, where CyberCoders is obviously we provide a service to a company, and as long as they hire that person, then we get paid. So Career Bliss is all about, you know, increasing traffic on the site, getting people to convert, to, you know, apply for jobs, display advertising. So that's the constant challenge, is getting enough traffic. We just reached profitability this year, so that's been 3 years. So it takes a while sometimes, but yeah, it's just, you know, growing the brand and getting up there. But you know, this year alone we've grown by 25% already. So we're just gonna hope that keeps going.
So tell us a little bit more about. So that's an eye, you're selling the eyeballs on Curveball?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a number of entrepreneurs are doing that here, and it's this constant thing of which side do I go after first, right? And how do I build that community that then has the value for the advertiser? So if you could talk a little bit about your strategy behind that.
And we struggle a lot with that the first year, figuring out, is it good to make something cool and not focus on any money? And hopefully that works, and we create this audience that people keep coming back. Or do we focus on the revenue first? But obviously, if you make it all about the money, then the users may not engage that much. So it's a tricky balance, and it's very, you know, it's something you need to really evaluate a lot. But you can't, I don't think you can, we probably ignored revenue for a while, but then realized it's time to start making money because the company has to keep running. And I think, you know, a lot of other people, some of my friends that started companies, try to focus on just making something cool, and they're like, oh, it'll be like Instagram and get bought for $1 billion. And that's not, it's a good aspiration, but it's not the average. Yeah, so I think you have to build something that's engaging and useful that people actually come back for, but then also think about how you're going to make money off those people. Yep.
So if you have to compete with some big companies such as Google, how do you do to deal with that?
Dealing with a big
compete with big companies.
Yeah. We fortunately Google isn't in our space yet, but it will be. So a lot in the, I guess in the recruiting staffing industry, there's a few big players, but I think it's interesting because that industry hasn't really got up to speed on technology and everything that can be done on automated fashion. So these big public companies like Robert Half, I don't know if you've heard of them, Adecco, they're very traditional, whereas I think we're more scrappy and fast. So we can move, we're pretty agile, and we can adjust the company as we need to. Our software is, we update every 2 weeks and release new packages, so nothing gets old, I think, in our system. Yeah.
So by releasing constant upgrades, do you think that innovation is the key to your success in the company?
I think it's helped. And we use Scrum or Agile product development, if you've heard of that. It's great because, like I said, we accept ideas from all the recruiters, and if someone has a really good idea that could immediately impact revenue, we'll put it into the build process immediately, get it built, and it can be out within 2 to 4 weeks. So being able to do that faster than anyone else is probably a very important key. In your team, that goes with people you hire. So, you know, typically if you go to a big engineering firm, if you're at Lockheed Martin, for example, where I was, they had a big waterfall development process. So it could be a 3-year plan, but the project plan wouldn't change for those 3 years, even if you have a good idea coming in. That's what it is, and that's how it's changed. You know? So some people like that because there's no change, and, you know, there's no business model changing throughout the day. But in Agile or Scrum, you can introduce changes to the product all the time, and the team is open to doing that. So they're open to taking on different things, which is great.
What about IT? Do you just contract it out to a law firm, or do you?
Yeah, we have a law firm that helps evaluate all that. Right now, we're patenting the software that I built, so I probably should have done it a long time ago. Yeah. It depends. The one we're using is pretty expensive, but there's a whole range of, you definitely want to get a good one. You don't have to get the best that's $5,000 an hour. Yeah. But yeah, if you definitely think it's unique, it's worth protecting it.
It's just because there's people playing along at home and this is what we're supposed to do.
So if for aspiring entrepreneurs, would you recommend getting industry experience or a desk job similar to your time at the NSA, or jumping right into it is more advisable?
I wouldn't give up the experience I had at the NSA or the Lockheed Martin. I think it was a great injection of how some companies do their process, and obviously how they manage teams working together, which you don't get all the time, I think, if you just go by yourself. But yeah, I think any experience you can get early on is good, and it's good to see what others have done and learn from as well. So I would, yeah, it's not a bad. I mean, you don't have to go start a company immediately, but it's always good. I would recommend doing that. Gonna get 2 of those.
It's really not set up.
So what are some of the personal things that you do to keep yourself productive? Like that, don't check email the first hour of your day, or just some of that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, there's a couple of things. Try to keep pretty regimented, so I actually like the order of the week. I try to exercise as often, so I try to do that first thing every morning. And actually, I do check my emails when I'm on the treadmill, but that's all right. You're doing multitasking. You do that, so I try to get into work early and just meet with my product teams first thing, make sure everything's going well for the day. But the way things are set up now, we do 2-week planning, so it's pretty well organized in that fashion. But I try to, every night I make a plan of like the 3 things I want to get done the next day. And I try not to leave the office before those 3 things are done, because I get pulled in all these different directions that I can get to go back and then refocus on what I need to do. And just eating well too is important too, because you got to take care of your brain and your body. Keep sharp. And get 8 hours of sleep a night. That's important. I know, but for me. It's also good too. We do a lot of product planning, and we use Scrum and systems that keep things organized for the team, so they know exactly what they need to be doing in the day. So there's no question about what they should be doing, what the goals are, what the vision is for the company. So make that as clear as you can, because if everyone knows what the whole idea is, what the common goal is, then it's a lot easier to focus everyone on that.
So right now, does your main function basically is more of an executive function, or do you still get to do any technical coding stuff?
I've rarely code anymore, but I wish I could. No, I enjoy that, but now it's more.
That transition kind of happened to you?
Yeah, it was a challenge. I probably wasn't a very good manager at first, but I became better. So I was the principal software engineer, and I built a lot of the software. But I just couldn't do it all myself, so that's when I had to bring on other people to help develop the code, manage this network, stuff like that. So I could focus more on product management and actually manage the team. But going from an individual contributor to a manager is a big change, especially giving up control over something that's your baby and you've built for years and years. But for me, I didn't think that a transition was an important one, but it was probably one of the more challenging ones I've had to do. But eventually you have to, And when I was getting into it, I never thought I would be managing people or anything. I thought I was going to be a good software engineer. But in order for things to go how they did, I had to figure that out myself. Yeah.
So hi, I'm actually not an IST major, so I'm in the College of Communications.
Yeah.
So do you have any suggestions for people who want to get in a different field or maybe be an entrepreneur in a different field or work with Yeah.
Do you know what you want to do with the communications?
What?
Do you know what you're interested in the communications field, or like is it public relations?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We do. There's so much going on right now with social media and how that interacts with PR and customer service and all that. So I was just talking with our PR director last week, just about how social media has become so integrated with what you have to do is, just managing your brand and managing people that are talking about your brand online and things like that. So I think that is a pretty interesting area that's just keeping getting bigger and bigger and more popular. Because if you're not out there in control of what people are saying, or not in control, but responding to what people are saying, it's really important for a company. So, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay.
You need to join the minor.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm recruiting.
So have you ever thought about going back to get an MBA, especially an MBA in entrepreneurship, and do you think it's worth
I don't know. So I went back and got my master's in computer science. I was thinking about an MBA, but didn't work out so busy. I don't know. I've thought about it, but maybe not. So now I've learned so much now about the business that I feel like I should have one.
Do most entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley actually take the time out to get an MBA, or is it just like school hard knocks and you figure out how it all fits together?
I would say I don't know of any that went actually to get the MBA. Yeah, I know a lot of advisors. If you have an advisor or someone else that's been there, then they may. But yeah, for me, I don't really know.
Got one. I got the mic. So, what do you wish you knew then that you know now? Like, if there's one thing, like, just learn this, not the hard way. What do you wish you knew when you started that you think of old hat as now?
I think one of the big mistakes I made was not setting up a good product and project management plan. So at one point I had 40 direct reports, and which is not recommendable. So, just because that goes along with, I was kind of like, I figured if I had control over everything, then I would know exactly what's going on, everyone would know what they should be doing, and you can't effectively manage 40 people. So, that's when I made the switch to go to this more agile Scrum environment. I ended up deciding to treat our internal development or products as actual products that would be sold. So I hired project managers, product managers, usability experts, designers, all that. So we weren't just cobbling and throwing things together. We're actually saying, this is a product that people are going to be spending 8% of their day in at work, and we want to make sure that it's enjoyable and it's actually an official product that could be sold. But yeah, that was challenging for me at first, is learn how to manage earlier than later.
Do you think that you will reinvest the money that you made from some of the companies into venture?
Some. Yeah, I have some thoughts right now, but I'm still trying to think through some ideas and do some research. But yeah, hopefully next year if I come back this time I can tell you.
I was just wondering what resources, while we're still at Penn State, should we be taking advantage of? Also, just going off of that, what do you think helped you here at Penn State, whether it was more in-class experiences, out-of-class experiences, people, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I graduated before IST existed, which I wish it was here when it did, because it probably would have benefited me a lot. So I was in the College of Engineering, which is highly technical. And I think one of the things they didn't focus on very well is like presentations and those kind of things where you're actually up talking to people, doing group work, that kind of thing. So the more you can get up, talk to people, express your ideas, those kind of things I think are really important. So I think it's basically being able to express the product that you're building or your business and being able to communicate that effectively is really important. I think it's more important than I thought it was, but it's a great thing to have. Yeah.
I'm a little confused. Did you sell Career Bliss last year?
CyberCoders. So I still own Career Bliss and my other partner. So that's still running.
All right, speaking of education, if you could create an undergraduate course in entrepreneurship, what would you want students to do? What experiences would you create for them? It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. I know, because you're trying to do that.
Maybe what experience did you wish you had experienced as an undergraduate that might have prepared you better?
Yeah, I think, obviously I think, this being able to build an actual idea and try to get it there. I think having experience pitching that idea to as many businesses as possible is really, I mean, the more practice you have, the better. So, I mean, even when I was here, I would interview for companies I didn't plan on working for, just so I could practice interviewing. So I think that's important. Practice is always the better way. But that's a good question.
Well, you're going to probably have a lot of people coming up after you, because these guys have to pitch their idea to 5 entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay. Well, so you already have that. Think of something else now. Yeah, let me think about that.
So you said once you left the NSA, you were looking for a startup. Did you know that you wanted to join the CyberCoders, or?
It was, so I was at Lockheed Martin. I went to the NSA, then Lockheed Martin, and I was in their engineering leadership development program, which is like a fast track to senior management. It was a great opportunity, and I could have been there forever probably. And then I decided to go to the small 10-person company, which is highly risky, because the economy wasn't that great then. It was kind of shaky, and but I was open to taking that risk, I guess, because I wanted to be in somewhere that was more fast-paced and I can make a bigger impact. Because if you've got a big company, you're just cog in the wheel, just how it goes. But that at CyberCoders, I could make my own calls pretty much. So, and that is really freeing when you can kind of do that and get out there. So if you're, sometimes it's hard to take that risk and make that jump that you don't know, the people that you're going to be working with and all that. But it's pretty exciting if you keep pushing yourself out there, putting yourself out there and taking those risks. Then it's going to pay off in the long run, I think.
So before joining them, how did you convince them to hire you?
So I was younger at the time, so it's probably cheaper. but I had worked at college. I had 3 jobs. So when I was at Penn State, my first year I was going to graduate with a 4.0. That's what I told myself. And then I realized that's not going to happen after the first year. So then I said, okay, I'm going to graduate with more experience than anyone else in my class, which I did. So I had internships every summer. I worked at 3 jobs during school. 2 of them were tech-related, software development. So at the end, when I graduated, I had pretty good experience. Then at the NSA and Lockheed, I had a good track record. So I was able to do, I could manage networks, I could put together servers, all that stuff. And I also could do software development, so that's kind of what convinced them. So I tried to get as much experience as I could before then.
So you said you're a chief technology officer, so what type of new technology or news today that you are getting excited about or you think has?
I like, I see your MongoDB shirt back there. So we've been using that pretty much a lot lately. So I'm really interested in a lot of the open source, big data analytics type things. It's helping make decisions, I think, easier that weren't as apparent earlier. So we have all this data now, and we can start making analysis and predictions on where we should be. Especially in our industry, we know trends of who's hiring in what areas geographically and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think one more thing too. I think usability is really interesting now. It wasn't that big 5 years ago, but companies are. I guess when the iPhone came out, that's when it kind of started changing. But people really respond better now to some companies that actually make a good effort into usability and how their how their software apps are structured and whatnot.
So another random one. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that have written books.
Yeah.
Say, this is what I've did, this is what I've done. How do you balance reading someone else's story and trying not to do what they do, besides going on yourself and actually getting those experiences and failing?
Yeah, I think it's good to learn, read and learn as much about what other people have done, because it's always good to, I guess, get that knowledge. And I have an hour-and-a-half commute every which way, so I have plenty of time to listen to books on CD or iPod. Yeah, I think it's good to absorb that information, but then know that you have what your ideas are going to be your ideas, not just copying someone else. Because if you're just copying someone else, then it's not going to be that unique. If someone does have an idea, but your idea is better, then that's a different thing. So if you can improve on something, then yeah, go for it.
So is Career Bliss just focused on U.S. now, and are you looking at going global, or?
We are. We're looking at building up the U.S. presence, and then probably expand into. Canada will be coming. That's kind of already there, but going into Europe and then India, I think.
How do you CTO two companies, that one being humongoid and the other one growing?
It's a challenge. Time management, no. I have a good manager on my focus right now is kind of integrating CyberCoders within On Assignment, which is the big company that bought us. So I have good managers on Career Bliss side, so I can work with them and kind of keep things going. But it's really about, I think, having the right managers in place that you can work with and trust them to execute what you want.
How did you decide it was time to sell?
We get asked that question a lot. I was like, you have such a good company, why would you sell it? So when you bring on like private equity, they usually want to stay in for 5 to 7 years so they can get the money back for the people that they put the money in for. So we were reaching the 7-year mark this year, so they thought it was time to get out. So and it was a good time, I think. Just the market is in high demand for human capital type companies, especially ones that have a lot of software like we do. So I just thought it was time to go.
Have you ever made a really bad hire?
Yes.
Can you tell the story about why that might have happened?
Yeah.
And how you resolved it?
I think I'm much better in hiring since the early days. Yeah, making a bad hire can really be really bad for your company. Especially as we were growing, we had some people that were brought on, and they had a lot of. They liked the way the company was, but as companies grow, there's some changes that need to be made structurally just to keep the company scaling. And they just became this negative piece in the company. Then everyone around them started becoming negative, and then it became quite a mess. So I try to. A friend of mine, Jamie from Zappos, is talking tomorrow night about brands that matter, and she'll probably talk about this too. But yeah, I think if someone's not in your culture and you know what your culture is and it's defined, and they're not going to be part of it, then they need to go. So we got those people out of the company, and now everyone in the company is working really well together. But I think I would say hire slow and fire fast. Sounds brutal, honest.
Hiring fast is hard.
It is. Yeah. It's tough to let someone go.
Unless Silicon Valley is different than the rest of the world, you have to do lots of documentation showing.
Oh. Well.
Why they shouldn't.
No. Not in California, at least. But it's yeah. In California, it's a right to work state. As long as they haven't. If you've talked to them before, you're right. You have a right to terminate them. So, not fun, but it happens.
So we were just talking about like disagreeing maybe with a hire or something. What if it's someone that you're partnered with, that's disagreeing within like 50% of the direction of your company? So how do you resolve problems like that, or try to get the overall direction to be the entire group's decision?
Yeah, and so usually when you're starting a company, you'll have something called like an articles of corporation, which kind of defines the voting power of the board that you'd probably be a part of, and who all has voting power. And if it is an executive or someone else in the company that is at that level, it would have to be probably a majority vote of getting rid of that person, which you probably built in if there's going to be severance packages and all that. But that's once you get probably bigger. But yeah, usually you want to make sure you're protected with your operating agreements, things like that.
Well, just going off that.
Yeah.
Well, like, how would you work, like, I guess, with them? Like, say it's like, you said you have a
right.
relationship with the other person who
yeah.
stuff. Say you disagreed on a few things, like how things come.
Yeah. I think we had a good.
You don't want to fight. You don't want to.
No. Yeah, we had a good relationship where we would generally talk through things and come to a resolution. So I think that's really important that you have a partner that you can do that with, because otherwise you kind of have a mess. But yeah, I think usually if you have a good partner and they're open to your ideas, and likewise vice versa, then you should be fine and be able to come up to a common goal kind of resolution. Yeah, yeah. It's just, communication is always important more than anything. Especially when you have people that are working for you, I would say just over-communicate. If you assume everyone knows what you're talking about, just say it again. So they'll interpret things differently. That's true. All right. Any other questions? Yep. All right. Well, I can show you this demo real quick. It's only like 2 minutes, but it's a kind of the software that I built that was showed to the stock analysts 2 weeks ago in New York. So it's pretty high level, so it should be fine.
Welcome to Cyrus, a revolutionary recruiting platform created by CyberCoders. Cyrus leverages cutting-edge technology to match the right candidates to jobs faster than ever before. Cyrus allows us to give our clients a great match for their jobs quickly and consistently pushes the average billing per recruiter higher than our competitors. So how exactly does Cyrus set us apart from other recruiters? Well, our technology quickly filters through 40 million candidates and thousands of job openings offering the best matches. With Cyrus's lightning speed automation features, our recruiters can efficiently make more job placements than the typical recruiter. Without Cyrus, recruiting services are usually limited to their local offices, which focus on candidates and jobs within a 60-mile radius. Cyrus allows our recruiters to match candidates anywhere in the country. Cyrus saves time by automating most of a recruiter's day-to-day tasks. For instance, Cyrus automatically posts and refreshes new jobs to all job networks, alerts recruiters about talented folks who are actively job searching, and helps maintain client relationships by telling recruiters when their clients are hiring again. And now, Cyrus will maximize On Assignment's robust network, leveraging sales leads from our partners to maximize permanent placements. How exactly does this unique technology accelerate efficiency from client acquisition to placement? Easy. Cyrus' unique matching algorithm ranks the most relevant candidates. So, for example, let's say a client is looking for a talented Java developer. Cyrus will first post the client's job posting to all relevant places throughout the internet. Cyrus will then semantically search through our network of more than 40 million candidates to find related keywords. Then it matches and ranks the candidates by relevancy fast. After that, the top-ranked candidates are automatically emailed, and our recruiters call the top 10 best candidates. This unique algorithm is the key to an impressive turnaround time for our clients and helps our candidates find jobs that truly fit their background and career goals. Plus, Cyrus turns recruiting into a competitive game. Recruiters are visually ranked against each other in real time. This gamification process maximizes recruiter performance and revenue. Cyrus is constantly evolving. Coming soon, Cyrus will live entirely on the cloud, and it'll be accessible to recruiters on mobile as well. It goes above and beyond the needs of companies and candidates while continually surpassing the industry standard. So, to recap, Cyrus is an incredibly fast, flexible, and smart tool that helps recruiters maximize their talent and fill jobs faster.
That gives you an idea of what we do. It's kind of fun. Yeah, thank you very much. Now, if you ever want to email me, my email is matt@cybercoders.com. If you have any questions.
If anybody has their passport and needs the sticker for the session, I have them as well.
So our guys, in our class, start the right, and then we've got a few more minutes.
Yeah.
Right.